Our story begins with a man named Gio, a master of cracking the toughest locks and breaking into the most secure vaults imaginable. Stealing priceless items and selling them off was simply how he made his living, and he worked with such precision and cunning that even after pulling off 100 thefts, he had never once been caught. One day, while on a job, Gio slipped into a building to steal a gemstone worth crores. The vault protecting it was fitted with an army of complicated locks, the kind that seemed impossible to crack. But for Gio, this was nothing more than child's play. He broke through every lock, grabbed the stone, and slipped past all the guards without raising a single alarm. Just as he made it outside, though, disaster struck. The precious stone slipped from his hands and shattered. All his effort had crumbled to dust in an instant. But Gio wasn't the type to give up. He studied the design carefully and crafted an exact replica, a fake so convincing it looked identical to the original. He carried this fake stone to a well-known dealer, hoping to sell it off. But the moment the shopkeeper laid eyes on it, he knew it was a forgery and flatly refused to deal with Gio. Here's the twist. Though Gio knew this same shopkeeper regularly dealt in fake goods himself, so Gio threatened to expose him to the police unless he cooperated. Cornered, the shopkeeper had no choice but to accept the stone. Gio's closest friend and partner in crime was a man named Going, whose specialty was hiding explosives inside the most ordinary, unsuspecting objects. After that job, Gio set his sights on something bigger: printing counterfeit currency. He managed to create notes that looked flawless. But there was one problem. The moment alcohol touched the paper, the ink would vanish. When that plan fell apart, the two decided to rob a diamond store instead, one holding close to 3 crore worth of jewelry. But this wasn't going to be simple, since the store was wrapped in CCTV cameras from every angle. To pull it off, they needed a skilled hacker who could take control of the security feed. That's where Jung came in. Rumor had it that Jung had once sold out his own partners to the police for a payday. But despite the risk, Gio and Going decided to trust him and bring him into the crew. Around this time, Gio crossed paths with a woman named Yoon Ah, an expert when it came to identifying valuable jewelry and gemstones. The two grew close, and during one of their outings, Gio noticed a necklace around her neck, a gift from her father. Curious about its worth, they took it to a jewelry shop for an appraisal and discovered it was worth millions. While everyone's attention was elsewhere, Gio quietly slid a bag under a nearby sofa and walked away as if nothing had happened. The two of them then visited another store for a second appraisal and got the same result. As it turned out, this second shop was the very place Gio was planning to rob. While there, he quietly memorized everything: the placement of every camera, the number of rooms, and how many guards patrolled the premises. By the end of his visit, he had calculated that the entire heist would need to be completed within 10 minutes. On the day of the robbery, the bag Going had planted earlier detonated right on schedule, sending the guards scrambling in panic. In that instant, Jung seized control of every camera in the building, clearing the way for Gio and Going to slip inside undetected. Gio also disabled the alarm system so that breaking into the vault wouldn't trigger any warning. But things didn't go entirely to plan. The guards returned far sooner than expected. Thinking fast, Going smashed the window of their car to keep them distracted while Gio cracked open the vault and cleaned out every diamond inside. The three of them escaped clean, and later that night, they celebrated their biggest score yet. The next morning, when the shop's owners discovered they'd been robbed, they were furious but also strangely impressed. Despite airtight security, someone had managed to walk away with everything. What nobody knew was that this owner, a man named Cho, was no ordinary businessman. He was a ruthless gangster with the blood of countless people on his hands, and he happened to be planning a massive heist of his own. He had spent months auditioning kidnappers and safecrackers, but none of them had impressed him until now. The moment he learned who had pulled off the diamond store job, he knew he had finally found the crew he needed. He immediately put his men on the hunt to track them down. Over the following days, Cho's men kept watch over every jewelry store in the city, and it didn't take long before they traced Gio and his crew back to their hideout. Cho paid them a visit in person and offered the three of them a 5% cut if they agreed to help him with his next big job. In truth, they barely had a choice. Refusing would mean Cho wiping out Gio's entire family. Reluctantly, Gio agreed. Cho then revealed the target. Roughly 150 crore worth of illicit cash was arriving by ship and would be hidden away in Korea, guarded by what was said to be the most advanced security system in the world. To prepare them, Cho handed over a set of food coupons, expecting the crew to use them as part of the plan. From that moment, Gio began plotting meticulously, well aware that this was about to be the biggest job of his life. Behind the scenes, Cho pulled Jung aside separately and offered him extra money to keep tabs on Gio and Going. After all, trusting a group of thieves completely was never wise. Meanwhile, the police were still hunting for whoever had robbed the diamond store. While reviewing the CCTV footage, they spotted the bag Gio had planted, which eventually led them straight to his address. They broke into his hideout and found the entire blueprint for his next heist laid out. And that's when they realized Gio was now entangled with Cho. The day before the job, Gio and Going traveled to the port to plant explosives and hacking equipment for the security system. Back at their hideout, Gio floated an idea to Going, why not betray Cho and keep the entire fortune for themselves? But Jung overheard the plan and reported everything straight to Cho. Cho was livid, but he chose to hold off on dealing with Gio for now, since he still needed him for the heist ahead. After that, Gio went to see Yuna, who was furious with him for vanishing without explanation. When she refused to calm down, Gio finally told her the truth. Her father had once been his mentor. Piecing things together, Yuna realized the connection. Her father had wanted to walk away from the criminal underworld and live a peaceful, ordinary life. But that very same day, his own business partner, Cho, had murdered him. Yuna couldn't bring herself to believe it at first and stormed off. Not long after, Cho's men kidnapped her, ensuring Gio would have no way of turning against him. Finally, the day of the heist arrived, and the crew successfully made their way into the port. Right on cue, Jung triggered the explosion, sending every guard running in confusion. In the chaos, he hacked into the security system, leaving everyone believing the glitch would take about 40 minutes to fix. That gave Gio and Going all the time they needed. They reached the vault, and Gio worked his magic to crack it open, revealing a mountain of cash. Without wasting a second, they began loading the money into their truck, replacing it with the food coupons Cho had given them earlier. But the explosion had already alerted the police, who surrounded the port before Gio could escape with his crew. Then Cho showed up and pointed a gun straight at Gio, having discovered his betrayal. He revealed Yuna's necklace, proving she was in his custody. To protect her, Gio surrendered himself to the police, but just before they could grab him, he leapt into the water. The officers opened fire from behind, and one bullet struck him. Moments later, the explosive strapped to his hand detonated too, making it appear he hadn't survived. When Going heard the news, he was devastated by the loss of his closest friend. Jung, on the other hand, felt no such grief. He was thrilled, knowing Gio's share of the money would now be his. An argument between the two soon spiraled out of control, and Jung ended up stabbing Going with a knife. At last, the truck loaded with cash arrived at Cho's hideout. But when he opened it up, all he found inside were worthless food coupons, and the shock hit him instantly. Before he could process what had happened, his phone rang. It was Gio, alive and completely unharmed. And that's when everything finally came together. From the very beginning, every single move had been part of Gio's carefully constructed revenge plan against Cho for killing Mr. O. It started with the fake gemstone, which Gio had rigged with a hidden microphone, knowing Cho frequently shopped at that very store. Just as he predicted, Cho bought the stone, and by listening in on his conversations, Gio discovered that Cho was searching for a talented thief. So Gio deliberately staged the diamond store robbery, making sure Cho would notice him. While Cho believed he'd been hunting Gio down this entire time, it was actually Gio who had been leading him along, dropping clues on purpose. Jung, far from being a traitor, had been working with Gio all along, only pretending to side with Cho. Even the officers who had come to arrest Gio were part of the ruse, and the bullet that struck him had been fake too, allowing him to slip away unharmed. The police also secretly rescued Going, who had only been pretending to be dead. In the end, Cho walked away with absolutely nothing but a handful of worthless coupons